This hangout on air is live. Thank you for joining us on OreAni, end of spring 2015 Springu lineup. I forgot to silence my phone, but that's Nick, who happens to be late. So someone just lets him in. We'll get this started. Once again, we're going to be discussing the endings of this season, telling you what we think and how we enjoyed the shows. With us, we have a new person, which is really fun. I'd like to introduce JJ. Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
As usual, we got Albert.
Hello.
Sean.
Hey.
And Triplet.
Telecom is on the way.
And as I've mentioned before, Nick will be joining us here in just a bit. Let's see here. So let's get things started. For our first line of discussion, we're going to start with something kind of deep here. Kind of sad. Plastic Memories. I just personally finished watching this a few hours ago. I'm doing okay though. I'm doing okay. I was crying pretty hard, but... So, who wants to start us off on this? You want to do it, Sean, or?
Yeah, sure. Well, I didn't shed any tears for the ending of Plastic Memories, but it was a good ending anyway.
So they don't cop out?
It follows through, yeah.
Okay, good.
It doesn't do anything cheap at the end. You know, I half expected that to happen. They were going to do something real cheap. They were going to cheat death. Spoilers. So the first half of Plastic Memories I thought was pretty bad. You know, I kind of watched it because it was bad. Because it would try and jerk tears out of characters that were not very well established with a premise that was really hard to buy. The second half of Plastic Memories is all about Aida, is that what they called her, and Tsukasa, the two main characters basically, and also the rest of the office. And you know, it succeeded where the first half of the series failed. It actually established these characters, and you know, you got emotionally invested in them and their story, and you know you saw what was going to happen, but it was satisfying anyway. And you know, also the show just has nice production values. The humor is pretty well done. Like, even though it's a tragedy, but it has humor in it. So, and it doesn't clash as hard as it does in like Angel Beats, for example. So yeah, I don't know. It was like half bad and half good. And I hope this team does more drama instead of the like 4-panel type comedies that they usually do. You know, it was an interesting outing for them, making this a sci-fi original. Anyone else?
So, as I started watching this, I actually didn't start the season with the show. Just from the character designs, it didn't look all that interesting. And when you guys discussed it at the beginning, I figured I might as well give it a watch and started watching it on Crunchyroll during my lunches. Just an episode during my lunch, so I caught up pretty quickly, and surprisingly, the ending was satisfying, and getting there was pretty interesting. A lot of the stuff you could see coming out, and you kind of expect a lot of it, but I think one thing that at the beginning turned me off was just, for some reason, the animation to me wasn't really fluid, or just something was off to me, and I didn't like it. But with the character development, the characters they had, and just the overall story, none of that really bothered me anymore. I was there for the show, and it was really good. I don't know what else to say. Like, I just barely finished watching this, so it's still pretty fresh in my mind, and that last ending scene was pretty good. I do have to note, though, watch until after the credits on each episode, because they typically add some stuff at the very end.
Yeah.
It's very important to watch that stuff. At first, I typically, when it hits the ending, I stop the show so I can just continue on to the next episode, and I realize there's some gaps. So.
Yeah, whenever I watch a show, I probably did miss a few of the post-credit scenes. Sometimes I forget. So I'm like, yeah, this show doesn't have episode previews. I'm done. Like once I hit the end credits, and I forget. When I watch this show, I sort of ponder like what they could have done with the premise to make it more believable. So I guess the second half of the series is nice because it kind of pushes that stuff into the backdrop. Like you don't really have to think about why are there these short-lived robots. You know, it's a really weird premise. And I know they probably made that up so they didn't have to do the conventional like terminally ill girl romance thing that there's probably like 2 or 3 other anime that have that premise to it, so they wanted to do the sci-fi version of it. But yeah, I don't know. The whole robot thing was really hard to buy. I wonder if they could have done something like maybe there's a deadly plague or something, but the plague has this predictable incubation period, so once you get the disease, then you have X number of days to live, and then after that they have to quarantine you, and then maybe the main characters get to be the quarantiners, but then the one of the love interests, one of the main characters gets the plague, and then they know they have X days to live. I don't know. They could have done something more believable than the sci-fi stuff. It was really hard to buy. They did that whole like chasing down the renegade android.
Oh
like
god, that
Blade
was
Runners.
awful.
They did the whole Tears in the Rain bit. I thought that, yeah, and you know, that was in the back of my mind. Like, well, that's a Chekhov's gun, so they're probably going to do that at the very end of the show, right? So I guess it was interesting that they set that up so that you would have that expectation, and then they would subvert that. But it was still effective because you always knew that there was, like, it could go that way. So it added some tension. Like, that was always in the back of my mind.
One thing I did enjoy about the end, or coming to the end, was that Ida and her emotions and the faces she made near the end. Because at the beginning she always had a very static face and didn't do too much. And then, of course, as time got on and she was getting closer, just those little faces she makes all over the place was really cute, and I started really enjoying those. I wish I could have taken screenshots, especially near the last few episodes. There's just a lot of different things you got to see, and it was really fun.
Yeah, I was holding back my impulse to take screenshots. Just like cute girl screenshots. I'm like, well, somebody else is going to take these. I don't need to take them.
Albert, do you care to mention and put anything into this?
So I have not finished it yet. I'm on the very last episode, and I'm glad to hear that they don't cop out, because I hate that, right? The problem for me was the first half, where I like rage quit at episode 6 with the android running berserk, and it was so awful. Like, it started off really well for the first episode or two, and then you kind of got this predictability, and then you knew this was coming, but it was so bad I quit. But then people kept talking about it and saying that the second half is a completely different tone. So I went back and have been watching it up to the last episode, and yeah, it's a completely different. It's like 2 different genres that they decide to mash together for whatever reason. So the second half has been enjoyable. I'm fine if the only part of this series was the second half. But overall, I don't think I'm going to rewatch it, and I would have a hard time recommending it to someone, saying you have to get through the first 6 episodes to get to the good part. So I don't know. I'm very mixed about it.
I wrote that glowing little review of the second to last episode, and I think that prompted a Wadazashi on Google Plus to watch it. I was like, oh god.
What
I
did you do?
didn't mean that as a recommendation. You're doing it to yourself.
Oh. But yeah, the second half has been enjoyable. So, if you just read the backstory, like a summary on Anime News Network or Crunchyroll, and jumped in from episode 7, I think you'd be fine too. I think you just watch episode 1 and jump to episode 7 and skip the awfulness. I don't know.
So, JJ, what were your thoughts on the Tsundere?
I don't know. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Not would I recommend it to anybody? Probably not. I agree that it was definitely 2 separate shows. I sort of I enjoyed the first half for being throwing some different aspects into it that I hadn't really thought of, as far as robots running around, being integrated in society, and that sort of thing. So I thought they had some sort of interesting points there, and each episode was a different sort of aspect of pulling these robots out of society, whether or not they were a loved one or a kid, or sort of how they were being used for by society to meet whatever needs, right? Older sister, that sort of thing. So I thought that was kind of neat. And then, but yeah, it was definitely 2 shows in one, because that second half was just character development, with our 2 main characters, basically. And, it was an emotional roller coaster the whole way. So I don't know. Would I recommend it to anybody? I'm not really sure. It wasn't consistent enough, I don't think, to make it onto my all-time recommendation list, unless somebody just really needs to let out some emotion, and cry themselves to sleep some night.
It's a void comp test, right? To prove that you're not a replicant.
Right, yeah.
Why?
That's my 2 cents.
All right. So that's pretty much Plastic Memories all right there, wouldn't you guys say? So, just in case they're still watching, I saw a message from Zachary Cards. I did send an invite, so if you want to try to join, I have someone else new here. And we're going to skip the next title on our list just because it's not finished and people want to discuss it after it finishes next week. So we'll wait for that one, which is Hibike Infonium, and jump right into, what do you call this show again?
Punchline?
Punchline!
Punchida. I actually haven't watched any more of this show, so I can't talk about it. But
what?
It's one of those shows I thought I would really enjoy.
Yeah, no.
But when it got to it, I was like, I'll save this for later.
Yeah.
So
your decision is not a bad decision, because it has been very uneven, and I think it would help if you were able to just continually watch a couple episodes in a row. So, hey, Nick.
Hi.
hello, Nick. Glad we could wake you.
You did no such thing.
Okay, at the right time, we've got Punchline.
Yeah. So, Albert, you can go ahead and get us started. I'll share the list with Nick.
Sure. I just did that. Check the chat, group chat. So yeah, Punchline. I was kind of interested in this and kind of dreading it. It was going to be shown in the Noitamina block, which is known for bringing in new viewers. Usually that means, the non-male demographic. But here we have a show that the entire name, is a premise on panty shots. So, like, what is the show going to even be about? And, Of course, it is original story, pretty crazy, just a mishmash of ideas that they put together, and I do applaud them for what ended up in 12 episodes being a fairly entertaining storyline and trying to work out all the convolutedness of the various time travel pieces. So I think in that way, if this was a written novel, I think it would have been more successful. However, as an anime, I really have a hard time coming to grips with it. My main problem is each episode's pacing was really off. It swung wildly between the genres of kind of a mystery detective as the main character is trying to solve, how he became kicked out of his body in spiritual form. And then you have the sci-fi elements, then you have the time travel elements, and you have, the conspiracy elements, and I don't know, it just ended up being almost too much. So overall, after watching the entire series, I did like it, but it was a little bit hard in the middle, each week to watch the episode because it just felt like, wait, did I miss something? Is this really where it starts? And it felt disjointed. I tend to use that word a lot, disjointed. But anyway, it's not a bad show, but it's definitely it feels very niche. I don't think it would appeal to a mainstream, and that was my main problem with it.
So I have a quick question, because from the way it started and then the way it continued on, it almost seemed like it all took place in this one building. Does it continue just always in that one building?
It pretty much revolves around their dorm, Koraikan, right? And
Yeah, I think the main character goes out like once or twice. But
you usually see him
then
come back and say,
there's-
"Oh, nothing happened outside." So there are some flashback scenes that take place in different settings,
Right.
but yeah, most of the time it happens around their apartment, dorm, housing complex, whatever, secret base. It's a secret base.
It's kind of like Summer Wars, but like a very, very convoluted time paradox, bodily possession, panty shot, mecha action Summer Wars.
Yeah.
In the sense that like this household, this family has to get together and then save the world because of some very convoluted reasons, and there's also hacking involved and.
Because reasons, but yeah, I don't think I'd compare it to Summer Wars, but I do see what you mean.
Yeah, I'm not trying to invoke the quality of Summer Wars. I'm just saying, like, if you had to compare it to something, it's probably most like that, like Summer Wars and Steins Gate kind of jammed into each other, and then a whole lot of other stupid stuff.
Yeah. So I will say that it is the animation quality is very high. It has beautiful, vivid colors. Animation's very fluid. They have nice character designs. So all of that, visually it's good. It's just that as you're trying to follow the story, they're throwing so many things at you, and then it switches, on a heartbeat between the genres, and it's hard to stay focused. It's almost like the opening scene is very much a preview of the entire series, where it's very hectic. Everything is going by you. If you haven't seen the OP, you should. It's a fun song. I really enjoy it, and there's some cool things that they do with like the 3D rotation of rooms and things in there, and of course panty shots. So
Yeah, I more or less agree. found it to be a real mixed bag of good ideas and stupid ideas, and tastefulness and tastelessness, and good execution and poor execution, and there is a whole lot of variety, but also I didn't really like it until, or rather, I didn't really find it that entertaining until the midpoint of the series. Like, after you get past like 4 or 5 episodes of crazy setup, then it actually starts connecting the dots, and the scenario comes together, and you can start following it.
Yeah, I would agree. The second half ended up being more entertaining in that respect. You know, the story was more fun to try to follow, to try to decipher as you're watching it. But there's a lot of setup, and then you have to introduce all the characters, and you know, all the hints that eventually will become important. But at the time, it makes no sense whatsoever. You know.
Yeah. When the revelation happened of like the 3 characters who'd switched bodies in their childhood or something, I had to review a bunch of scenes in previous episodes to connect it.
And then it start making sense. Yeah. So.
It might almost be worthwhile for a second viewing of that one, just to see how well it is knitted together in the beginning. Right. I don't know. I don't know if I'm willing to actually do that, but it could be one that's actually worthwhile.
It could be, and that's why I'm saying that, you know, if you're watching it now that it's all out, it might be easier to follow the story if you're watching it one after the other versus, you know, waiting a week and then, you know, kind of not remembering exactly where you were and then rewatching. Watching the next episode when it throws you into, you know, a different scene. So.
Yeah, by the end I realized that there were a bunch of things I just straight up forgot. Like, what's the story with that bear? I forgot why they have it, or why everyone's trying to get it.
Yeah, why a bear? Not explained, but it's a bear.
So I thought they explained it at some point, but I even forgot like the whole premise of why.
Briefly, but I think they lied then. Right, I think they explained the bear, and then it turned out that was just a complete lie, and so they never actually explained the bear.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. I remember what the bear's point was, personally.
I also never figured out who the cat was. Anyone else figure it out?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that one they sort of hinted at in the very last episode.
Yeah, that was pretty obvious there.
Yeah, once they told you the cat's name.
Especially when they told you the cat's name. I recognized it on design alone.
Well, I know that was the cat, but why did it become like a talking ghost cat later?
Because it needed
or earlier.
Yeah, exactly. So that's probably not explained, but judging from the amount of time loops that occur, right? It's probably the grown-up cat somehow from the future, and possibly has Yuta's memories. I don't know. It's not explained, and it's just, you know, I thought it would show up, and it sure did, but not explained. So
yeah, so I'm wondering, how did the cat become the overseer of the time paradox? He's said that he's seen this like thousands of times or something.
Like bordering billions. Yeah.
Cats are justice, man. Cats.
Yeah, I mean, I started watching it for the panties and stayed for the plot. You know, because they kind of took all the panties away at the end, except for the very last scene, right? But I don't know. I still don't know what to think about that whole thing. All I can think of is that the animators had a great time making it. It looked like they had a good time. It was a fun show, and I think that one I would actually recommend to other people because it was just nuts. I'd have to pick somebody to recommend it for, not just anybody, but that was a one-off kind of thing. I thought was pretty cool.
I think the way you can find if someone will enjoy this is if you show them the opening and they say, "This is."
I didn't like it that much, but I kind of respect it. Like, I respect it as just this weird anime product. And And you know, I sort of respect it as a Noitamina show as well. Like even though it has all these like panty jokes in it, which doesn't seem like Noitamina, but I think it's just the product of some producers just getting together and saying, hey, let's just get these cool this writer together and this cool studio, and they're gonna make a cool show for us, and they came up with Punchline. It's pretty weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the title has some kind of meaning. Like I could never figure out why they called it Punchline. What am I missing?
I think the
Punchline.
Panchira is panty shot. Is that
Yeah.
the pun?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that pun appears in other things like Chira Nosuke, the name of the cat, and some other stuff that I can't
you
remember.
could go to the Wikipedia. I think the English Wikipedia page will explain it, but all the characters' names are puns essentially.
Okay.
But not necessarily panty puns. I thought you explained it at one point.
Yeah, they're not all like the main character's name, Iridatsu Yuta. If you space it differently, Yutai is a spirit body, and Ridatsu is to escape, right? So the spirit body escaped. That's his name, but it's just parsed differently.
Okay.
All right, so will that be it for Punchline?
I think so, unless Nick has something to add. Did you watch it?
Yes, I've watched it. Yeah, it was a pretty enjoyable project, but I got to say, it and I think one other anime that we haven't gotten to yet, because this is a very early title, had me impressed with the amount of the eye catch artwork in the middle of the episodes.
Oh yeah, I'm
Um,
showing that right now.
Yeah, you've
They're
been
lovely.
showing it, and
Punchline.
but you know, it just kind of impressed me because a lot of times shows like that could just do, you know, some kind of like character artwork or scene artwork or whatever, and Punchline always had its own unique kind of style in that. Like it separated itself from the anime via its eye catches, and it just always kind of caught my attention every time. It's like, you know, the stark contrast of the eye catch to the normal animation. But otherwise, I agree pretty much on a lot of the fronts.
Actually, I would say that I got an experience from Punchline I wouldn't like to forget, so it's really worthwhile watching it at least.
Yeah, so the interesting thing is what the Noitamina block will be showing, you know, in the next couple of seasons, and it's looking pretty interesting. So I would keep an eye on the block to see what's going to be upcoming. But I know there are at least two mystery genres that you don't. I mean, you do see, but I think these are going to actually be good, not just cartoony detective stories like, you know, Detective Conan. So
Lucky
like
Holmes.
like Vampire Home.
Lucky home.
no, we'll see. But I think I have hope that Noitamina block is going to recover from some recent, what I perceive as problems. You know, this show, Sai Kano from last season. I hope they bring in, you know, make interesting shows and bring in new viewers to the genre. So that's all I got to say.
All right.
Punchline still got the best pantsuits of the season.
We should make an award for that.
Yep.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our next title. Thank you guys for discussing that. Next up, we got Fate's Stay Night. Dun dun dun. Oh, actually, it's Unlimited Blade Works. The continuation. And hopefully the end. Let's see who's got this. Oh, I got it.
You go.
Well, yeah. So Fate Stay Night, as Unlimited Blade Works goes on. I have to say though, I was surprised with the action that you see and the fights. They're beautiful. They're amazing. They're really fun to watch. And a lot of the times I show those to some friends to get them into trying to watch the show. But because of that, I tend to forget there's a lot of dialogue in the show. And I don't know how to say it, but it caught me by surprise still for some reason. But as far as continuing on Fate Stay Night, a lot of stuff is finally happening. Of course, if you've seen the original Fate Stay Night, you already knew about certain things, or sorry, that movie, and they just continued to reveal it. And the way they revealed it was really fun and very interesting. And once again, lots of death. Hopefully that's not a spoiler for anyone. But I can't really talk to the end because I haven't seen the last 2 episodes, I think, that just came out, right? One just came out and one came out last week. I didn't see them. Mm-hmm. But I'm really excited to see the ending and see how they close this off, because throughout the whole show it's been really beautiful. And certain fights that are happening, it's been really fun. I don't know really what else to say about this show, because it's just so amazing as far as visually that unless I have some screenshots, which I don't, there's not much to show you. And if you have already started the first season, then you've definitely probably went to the second one. Does anyone have anything else?
I was super disappointed by Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works 2014 Season 2. I was really disappointed by it. I mean, the series makes a good first impression, but then when it gets into the grind of it, I feel like it was really poorly paced, and the main character is just infuriating to watch. You know, he's just stubborn against any character development. You know, everyone's just like yelling at him.
I'm curious who hasn't seen the earlier ones, like Fate Stay Zero or all of those, because I haven't seen them. All I've seen is this one. And
I've seen Fate Zero, which was based on a novel series written by Gen Urobuchi, you know, of Psycho Pass fame and of Madoka Magica fame. He's a famous like anime writer at this point. So that was really good. I've seen Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works, the movie, which was incomprehensible because it's just this. They compacted like that entire season into
2 hours.
Into a 2-hour film. It was just. It's like if you don't already know everything there is to know about this storyline, then.
I mean, if it's any consolation, I haven't seen the anime anyways myself.
Okay. Should we introduce our new guest? Or?
Yeah, it looks like Zachary Cards just joined us.
Yep, I've been here before, I believe.
Well, thank you for joining us again.
Thank you.
We got 2 people with us that aren't normal. So, Sean, do you want to continue?
Yeah, sure. And I talked to a friend who's actually a big Fate Stay Night fan, and I think what happened with Unlimited Blade Works is that Fate Stay Night is a visual novel in which there are a bunch of different storylines that are actually pretty different. Like, characters will live or die, you'll learn different things about these characters. And I guess the fundamental problem is adapting that into an anime series, where it basically has to pick one of those stories, and this one picked the Unlimited Blade Works route, as it's called. So
it's the second route, yeah.
So you only get to experience like one shade of the complete Fate Stay Night picture, where with a Fate Zero was originally a light novel series, so it doesn't have that problem. You know, it was conceived as a linear piece of storytelling. So I don't know, like toward the end, it was just a lot of like characters fighting for episodes on end, and by fighting I mean yelling at each other about like how you can't defeat my ultimate technique because your reasons for fighting are not as good as my reasons for fighting, and your ideals are bad, and you should feel bad for those bad ideals, and it just went like they argued in circles, and then when they fought, you know, it's cool for like a second, but then
discussion.
It's cool for like a second, but the fight scenes didn't really have me on the edge of my seat either. Like they were nice technically, but it was a lot of just like people throwing swords at each other and then hitting those swords, and that happened a whole lot.
Especially in the second half. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm glad they did the Unlimited Blade Works adaptation into a TV series because, as we've discussed, the film is a goddamn mess. Okay. And then the TV series, the original Fate Stay Night, is also pretty dated because I watched it just prior to watching Fate Zero, thinking, you know, I should probably figure out what's going on before I go into the backstory bit of Fate Zero, because Fate Zero takes place 8 years prior to the events of Fate Stay Night, right? So what I really wanted was a TV series of Heaven's Feel, which is the third route in the visual novels, because in that, from what I understand and have read, there's a lot more interest. There are other characters brought in that are not part of, that are in the background but not prominent in both Fate Stay Night and Unlimited Blade Works. So that's what I was hoping for, but now they're going to turn that into a movie. So, you know, in about 10 years, we'll probably get the TV series version of Heaven's Feel Route. And in that, you know, Shiro actually has better, apparently, character development, because I personally hate Shiro in both Fate Stay Night and in Unlimited Blade Works. I can't stand him. So my whole reason for watching this is for the other aspects, and even then, it's a lot of talky. You know, they're discussing philosophy punctuated by violent action, but it's not the opposite way around. Their fighting is just a way for them to espouse their philosophy and their viewpoint and try to overwhelm the others by saying, I'm more powerful and therefore my viewpoint is right. Well, that might does not make right. That's the whole point of, you know, like the Arthurian legend. So I find it kind of ironic in many respects. But visually, yeah, it is a treat. If you don't mind Shiro, then it's worth watching. It is one of the higher production values. They split it into 2 cores with a break in the middle so they can catch up on animation and not have problems in the production of it. So that is all very well done, and it's top-notch animation. Music is nice too, and overall, yeah, I think it would appeal to a lot of people. Now, there's one thing I wanted to say, which is the prologue episode for this. Prologue is episode 0. Is from Rin's point of view, right? And then we have 24 episodes, and it's basically Shiro is the main character, and it's from his point of view. And then episode 25, which just dropped this week, is an epilogue. And I really felt that that should have also been from Rin's point of view instead of Shiro's point of view. And I don't understand why they decide to do that, but whatever. So here is all the cute faces of Rin, one of the main hero and characters from this. And she is the main interest, main girl, main waifu in this part of the this route. You know, and Saber was in the first one, and Sakura is in the third one. So, if you're a Rin fan, yeah, watch it. But know that she's not, even though she's, you know, featured prominently. I really kind of wish that the entire thing was from her point of view, because I like her as a character more than Shiro, a lot more than Shiro.
Yeah, Shiro's too much of a robot to make a compelling main character, so I didn't like how the show revolved around him so much. And they tried to bring in some other character arcs, character stories into this adaptation, but it all felt kind of shoehorned. It's like, okay, we're going to give you the backstory of this character, and then we're going to kill this character, like, a second later. Okay, now here's the backstory of this other character, now we're going to kill this character. You know, so it's not like Fate Zero, where you saw all these characters develop at the same time. And, you know, they were all sort of given space to breathe. Like, I don't know.
I really enjoyed those backstories. Those were really fun to me.
I wish I had them, like, way earlier, and then I could sort of understand them. Become invested in these characters before they slay them, you know, rather than like, here's the backstory dump, okay, they're dead.
Yep.
So it's interesting, the ways in which this show is not that well written. It's fun to think about because it's kind of a conundrum, right? Because if you do an adaptation where you try to put a whole lot of arcs together and make this like really complete kind of adaptation that has a lot of original stuff happening in it, then the fans will yell at you. You know, because they're all like hardcore about Fate Stay Night. I think what they should have done, which they will never do, but given the constraints, maybe this was like the best thing they could do, is that they adapt all of the story arcs and release it as some sort of interactive DVD Blu-ray where you have to make all the same choices as you do in the game. And so that's the complete adaptation of Fate Stay Night. We simultaneously adapted all of the arcs rather than just one of them, and you know, just one arc feels kind of insufficient. I've also heard the thing about like, well, the other half of Shiro's character development is in this other arc of Heaven's Feel, and so I guess that's why they're adapting Unlimited Blade Works into this show, and then they're following up with the movie of Heaven's Feel. Maybe that won't be a complete mess. I don't know.
All right. Anyone else have anything to say?
A little trivia tidbit: the show that this studio was working on, God Eater, I think they delayed that, presumably because they were putting all their resources into this Fate Stay Night. But I don't know. It was just something I overheard on Twitter. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, having not seen the other arcs or anything of this, it held together fairly well for having not seen all the other ones. But yeah, I definitely got the sense that it was. I watched it for the eye candy at the end. I don't even think I watched it for the battles. Just simply the way the battles were drawn and animated, but not who actually won. Right. You know, I agree with you wholeheartedly on the. You know, here's this cool character. Let's kill him off. Here's this other cool character. Yep, she's gone. You know, and I didn't realize till, you know, maybe halfway through this season of it that there were preceding episodes of it. I just hadn't looked into the backstory of it at all, and I was like, oh, there's this whole universe there that you didn't need. But and I also agree with you wholeheartedly on the Rin thing, or maybe that was Albert who said that I would have liked to have seen it far more from her perspective, like the preview was done. That I found her to be the more interesting character, and Shiro to just kind of be laying there like a lump of bricks, and I'm going to fight for justice, and that's it. But yeah, I don't know. That's my opinion.
Yeah. To say something positive about Fate Stay Night, I like that Gilgamesh was still a great antagonist because he's just so over the top. His master plan was to like start the magic doomsday device, and then he says that whoever survives will be worthy of being my subjects. I'm like, that's awesome, Gilgamesh. You're the best. He had a flying throne in Fate Zero. That was also the best. He's just so over the top.
Yeah, I wonder what happened to that.
I don't know. Decommissioned it. It's too expensive to maintain.
Okay, so Nick, you made your numbers on the wrong thing, but that's okay.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, I didn't realize copy of was the more important one.
Just transfer those over. I don't want to go through that list. So Fate Stay Night. Let's go ahead and move on. What we got next, which I can't read Japanese. What does that say? Houkago no Pleiades.
Yeah, so let's see. I guess I'm the one that wanted to talk about it. Stop screen sharing.
So real quick, while you get yourself set up, I actually picked this up after your guys' discussion and from last time, and I would have to say I like it. I would really want to finish it. Hopefully I can finish it.
Well, all the episodes have dropped, so that's why we're discussing it. It is at first glance, you think it's just another cutesy magical girl, moe show, and that's not how it actually ended up. So it has good lineage behind it because Gainax is the animating studio, and the animation is gorgeous. Okay. So no problems about that, about the quality of the anime. And the story, there are about 5 girls in there, and it does follow them as they try to recover parts of this alien being's broken craft, engine pieces, they call it. And so tied into this is like astronomy, and then around I think it was episode 3 or 4, you get this fan servicey, everyone's in a swimsuit episode. And that was kind of a turnoff, but then they did something neat with it, which is, okay, instead of the beach, they get a warning that a fragment is nearby, and they end up in outer space. So all of a sudden, instead of finding these fragments on Earth, now they're expanding it to outer space, into the Earth sphere. And then with the subsequent episodes, they go by Saturn, they go to the very edges of the solar system, they go, way out into the galaxy. And so it is both magical, but there's a lot of actual science elements, but what the magic does is it allows them to break the laws of the natural order, right? So they can travel faster than light if they really wish it to. And they came about together, and they're in the same classroom, even though they don't remember that happening because magic. And so I think they did some very interesting things with the series as a whole, and I really enjoyed it for kind of just watching an old school anime. Yeah, there are a little bit, of fan service elements in there, like I mentioned, but there's a straightforward story about the girls. Each of the girls do get an episode, sometimes a little bit more than an episode, to delve into their backstories, which really wasn't. They were cookie cutter in the original net animation. So I really enjoyed that aspect. They all have different personalities. They all have different reasons for wanting to be to joining the club and trying to find these fragments. And then also the antagonist that shows up also has a very interesting backstory and tragic in some ways, and there's also a love story in there. So it seems like they packed a lot in, but it actually makes a lot of sense in a linear progression of characters that develop and the story that you end up with. So, I enjoyed it thoroughly. I would recommend it to a lot of different people, and I think it's a very sweet, old-fashioned kind of story. And the last episode you might have to watch twice, because there was a lot of things being thrown at you, but about possibilities, and I think the words they used were, like quantum entanglement and things like that. So it ends up being kind of heavy about, what happens if you make a different choice at this point, right? So, but still, I would recommend it to a lot of people because it was very well done. It was a very satisfying anime in the end, and throughout. Like each episode and the entire series progression and the ending was very satisfying to me. So I would recommend it to a lot of people. And they had some of the most beautiful commercial, not the end cards, but the commercial cards. So
the eye catches. That's what I was going to bring up.
Eye catches. I'm gonna show them since I did do the captures, but you guys can talk about it.
Yeah.
But I highly recommend it to anyone.
I gotta ask. Well, first of all, it's nice to know that Gainax can still make like a high quality production, like past the split with a Trigger. So that's nice to hear. I'm wondering how much did they push the Subaru angle? Like, was everything in the show a car metaphor? Was there a lot of like car culture parody type stuff in it?
Actually, no. It's very little. So the only thing, yeah, I think we talked about this in the previews, but. The broomsticks that they are on are called drive shafts. When they rev it up, they make engine sounds, and I can't tell. I don't know for sure, but the designs are based on Subaru's different lines of cars, like the Legacy or the Forester or the Impreza, and I'm not sure about the engine sounds. I'm not a good enough gearhead to be able to tell if they actually used, the different engine sounds for different drive shafts. So, but the design elements can be seen here. Like this is Subaru's. The main character's name is Subaru, and her drive shaft, I believe, is the Japanese version of the Legacy, but I don't know that for sure. So, it's very toned down. There, you don't, unless you're really listening for it or looking for it, you don't see that Subaru being pushed at all, which is kind of interesting, and I kind of like it,
That's kind of disappointing.
I kind of did enjoy it. Like,
when I think of Gainax, I think of cute girls, but also like a nerdish attention to detail when it comes to that sort of technical stuff. So I thought they would have really gone all in for the Subaru metaphors.
Yeah, I don't think that's where they put their efforts. They put their efforts into actually using actual astronomical terms and physics terms. So and a lot of detail in their animation. It's kind of funny because I just finished watching Aoi Hono, or Blue Blazes, which is a live-action adaptation of a manga about this guy who wants to become a manga artist, but is confounded by one of his classmates in film school university, which is Hideaki Anno, right? And so I had this in mind as, the Gainax backstory. It kind of ended up being the Gainax backstory, and I'm watching this Gainax anime right now, After School Pleiades, as it's known in the English, Houkago no Pleiades. And yeah, Gainax still can pull out a well-crafted, beautifully animated story. So I thought it continued to impress me. Sorry, Nick, you were saying something.
Oh no. Just I was in full unison with the whole artwork of the eye catches. This series, I was watching it and I did enjoy it. I don't know if I would recommend it for a lot wider of an animation base, just because its story is kind of a little sluggish in nature. It takes a little while for the characters to develop, and sometimes some of the plot developments kind of just thrown at you, especially with the terms that you may, if you're not, from my perspective, if you are not very sufficient with a lot of those space physics terms, it could be a little bit much for you to take in, for younger viewers. So, but I did enjoy it. I'm not trying to say anything about its shortcomings at all. Just there's stuff to take into account with how this project, the sheer pacing of it, and the fact that it, for the most part, lacks elements of consistent action, and I don't know. But I do like it. I did like it. And kind of just going on with the whole, I think what initially, I didn't end up watching the original OVA, and I didn't necessarily notice until you pointed out in our first video about the whole Subaru endorsement, which is what the original OVA was supposed to be. I did actually kind of appreciate the engine sounds on the drive shafts. It just kind of, the sheer existence of the sound effect really made it more interesting. And I don't know. I didn't really enjoy this series. I did.
Well, I enjoyed it, although I haven't seen the end. I'm really looking forward to finishing it up. As far as recommendation, I don't know anyone that I would recommend this to, but I did have fun watching it. Subaru was a really nice character. I really liked her. Yeah. And I think that's actually why I kind of started enjoying the show, with her and the different encounters she has with the different people, and I guess her development in the magic. But there's some stuff maybe what Nick was saying is that there's some stuff that was kind of weird and inconsistent that I thought was at first all 5 of them had to be there to make this seal, right? And
the magic circle generation.
Yeah, and then later on it's just 3 of them making it, because the other 2 are somewhere else. But so I'm what? Now they can do it with just 3, or what's going on? It doesn't change.
And sometimes if the presence of a certain character is around, a 6th member could just be unintentionally thrown into the mix.
So.
But
yeah, there's just some stuff that I would say was a little off, but altogether it was really fun, and I can't say it was it stood out too much to me, but it was just when I get home, it's on or it's ready. I just put it on and watch it, just relax. I would say it was a pretty good show to relax to. And the only other thing that kind of bugged me was that weird alien creature always using that window. Although they had some pretty funny moments, especially how her emotions were always the same as the creatures. But I thought that was pretty fun too. So let's see here. Anything else about this title?
Nope.
Okay, we'll go to the next one then. Next up, we have. Let's see, which one do I want to use? Let's go ahead and use this one. Shokugeki no Souma. Dun dun dun.
Dum, dum, dum.
Now, I haven't been keeping up with the anime. I'm probably only seen 7 episodes. And one of the biggest reasons was that I've read the anime, or manga, sorry. I've read the manga. And so a lot of the stuff doesn't really seem like it would pop out or be fresh for me, so that's why I haven't been watching it. But what about you guys? Triple A?
Yeah. Well, actually, I've not read the manga, and I still think this is a purely food porn anime with a little bit less food than porn, and yeah. But actually, this anime is kind of fun to watch every week. It's like not that episodic. It follows a story, kinda. And yeah, it's the aim of, well, dethroning the kings of the school. Yeah. Well, the story is not that good. Not deep, just spots like athletic, whatever comes up. But I kind of like where this anime goes with explaining how to cook, exactly what they're cooking right now. And I've already applied that multiple times, and that's what it has real life information one can use, and I really like that. So yeah, and whatever, the story is not important, but the character interaction is quite comedy heavy, and every character has its fetish, or, well, one is kinky, one is like brewing wine or whatever. And yeah, that's what really makes this anime interesting. And yeah, just wanted to say that this anime really had its good things, but the porn had some, yeah. The first episodes were really porn heavy, and the later episodes got a little bit more food heavy. So if you're in for the fan service, watch it. If you're looking for ideas for cooking, watch it. Anything else, you might forget it.
So there's always been one problem I've had with cooking shows, or cooking animes, I should say. Cooking shows, actually, too. Was that every time I see them making all this great food, I'm like, I'm never going to be able to make that. I'm never going to be able to eat that. And it makes me so sad.
Yeah, like, well,
Why are you not doing it?
I mean, at least with the last food porn show, what was that called again? Kofuku no Graffiti?
Graffiti.
That was...
Yeah.
They didn't really focus on the cooking part. It was more focused on how sexy she ate it. And
Yeah.
that was fun. But
that was fun.
the show with them cooking, and they're like, "Oh, that smells so nice." I'm like, "I don't smell anything, but it looks good."
Well, actually, many of the things he made, the main character made, are very simple to do. So, just take the stuff he has, cook in front of the anime episode, Like, yeah, cuts the vegetables as fast as he does. Try not to hurt yourself. Well, but there are simple tricks to, like, really tender meat. You have to get some onions to tender it with. Yeah, that's some really nice tricks I explained, and that's really, really cool.
Yeah, I do actually kind of wonder how much of it is like legit though, or like are we just being like introduced to air gear science here? I'm not sure.
No, it's it really is legit. Most of the things, I think.
So, Triply, just honestly, are you watching this show to see if they ever give you any Nutella tips?
I wonder if they sell Nutella in Japan, but there are many things to do with Nutella. Pancakes with Nutella is the best thing to do, and it's really simple. So if you want to eat some Nutella or very much Nutella, you want some, well, rounding, just make pancakes. It's a wonderful thing.
So, 2016, the new anime, Cooking with Triply and Nutella, coming soon.
Well, that will be really nice.
We're gonna have to like recut as many scenes as we can to make this like Nutella OVA for Triply. But yeah, Shokugeki no Soma, I really have been enjoying a lot of the characters. A lot of them are interesting, and you know you can grow to like a wide cast of them who make common appearances. As I was kind of saying, I don't know really how I feel a lot of times when the food is being judged. You know, they use a lot of like cooking terminology, but I just wonder like who kind of came up with. I know this is based off a manga, or most likely a manga. This probably doesn't make sense as like a visual novel nor light novel. I don't even know how one would go about making a novel that first without wanting a manga. But you know, the only one thing I've had an issue with this anime is this whole school that they're attending. You know, it fronts itself as a school where you're set in your field if you are successful at the school, but the fact that they call it a school, you know, how much teaching have they actually shown in this thing? This school is pretty much funded on competition. You know, use your own skills and your own knowledge to make something for us. We're not teaching you a damn thing. We're evaluating you. That's what the school is, and to me, that's not what like a school is supposed to be. So, I just don't like how they call it a school. But you know, I'm not going to get into like the nitty gritties of anime because you know how many times do we expect establishments to be upheld in their truest, most fashion, but
well, actually, I think that the theme of a school kind of still fits because
yeah,
well,
thematically it's great. Just like I said, you know, if I ever attended a school like that where it's pretty much, you know, we're throwing real world scenarios at you and use all your prior knowledge to succeed here. School? What's school about this?
the thing is, they're still having a junior high where they kind of learned a lot, actually. So there they get all their knowledge about the things, how they can do this and what other stuff. Yeah, that's why the main character was the only one transferring in. So, well.
Well, and they do seem to be learning from other people too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
And
every
they're having the clubs.
every character he's defeated, right, has learned something about their own cooking from him or the way to do something new. So, I don't want to go to a school like that, mind you, but you know, I think they are learning something.
So what do you think about food porn, JJ?
Love it. Absolutely love it. It's probably one of the ones I look the most forward to every week. I think that the theme song coming into it is great. I mean, I don't know why, just really appeals to me. You know, it's up tempo. You know, yeah, no, there's not a whole lot of plot, but at the same time, I think it's fairly easy to get behind some of the characters, right? You know, I'm not challenged to go, gee, I don't know if I can like this main character. You know, if he loses or wins or whatever, do I really care? No, and in this, I care. Like, I'm like, hey, that was awesome. He kicked their ass again. You know, and the little side gag that they've got going on with, well, here, you know, can we put, you know, Nutella and squid together, right? And his little things like that. You know, how about we try this recipe? You know, that's awful. So I don't know. I think it's pretty awesome. I don't know if I'd actually call it service heavy though. Like, I mean, there's definitely some fan service in it, but it's I don't know.
It was really awkward when my roommate came in one day. So, and it was the roommate that kind of is not watching any anime. Well, I've got another one that kind of watches anime.
Yeah, I don't put this on when my wife is home. You know,
yeah,
there's no
that's
question about
right
that.
thing to do.
Yeah, I don't know. It's but the service in it, you know, it's not like some of the, like if we talk about Triage X today, that service, right? To me, I mean, but this, I mean, yeah, it's there. You've got your American clad bikini girl. I forget her name.
Yeah, Nikutani or something like that.
You know.
Or that's her
I
nickname or
understand
something.
why you don't remember her name.
No, I think it's really cool, and I think you know, my wife does a lot of cooking, a lot of different styles, whether it's Indian, Japanese, whatever, and you know, a lot of the recipes or whatnot that I see on there seem to fit pretty well in reality. You know, I think Tripley's right. You know, there are a lot of tips and tricks that they're talking about in there that does seem like somebody, you know, ran around and did do research on a lot of these things. You know, like even the way they hold the knife and the vegetables while they're cutting, right? You know, he's chopping really fast, but his hands are, you know, like this, not like this, but like this, you know, which is the way they teach you to do it, you know, so you don't chop your fingers off. So I don't know, it's kind of a neat show. I'm going to miss that one when it goes off the air someday.
Yeah, but the opening and ending song on this one are pretty exceptional in my opinion. Both have pretty high ranks in the anime of the current season. Both songs are near the top of the list.
All right. Anyone have anything else to say?
Yeah, just on the reference of the whole song things again, I lost my shit when in like one of the food camp episodes, you had the characters who were like, you know, going off to like the bath area, and like they totally like broke the fourth wall when they were like humming along with the ending sequence that like started playing, you know, prematurely. So I was like, just like, how are these multiple characters humming the tune of their own ending sequence? You know, in sync at that. But it was a good. I laughed. It wasn't a negative factor. It was just.
All right. Next up is a show that recently ended as well. Oh yeah, Shokugeki no Souma is still continuing on, right?
Yeah, it's
of course. So. Just a little note. This one just finished. Familia Myth. That's all it says on there. What did you call it? Triply? DanMachi?
Oh.
That is
it's
a chosen.
Dungeon Yai or Motomeru no wa Majigata. DanMachi. That's really just DanMachi.
Another.
I think it's an official title.
Wait, where am I going? Oh, okay. I guess I'll talk about it since. So, really fun. Really enjoyed it. I don't really know what to say I enjoyed about it. Because, for one, I hate the main voice actor in this show. I mean, not him personally, just how he's always doing the same characters. So, kind of was hoping to see or hear someone else new, as I've mentioned at the beginning of our discussion. But, the story overall, I think it's pretty fun, especially with Hestia and how much she worries about him and, of course, all the trouble he's getting into. But now, after the beginning episodes, now he's actually building a small little group, and just how he meets these different people and getting together with them. It's been very fun, and you're also learning a little more information about the Sword Princess and some people at the diner he always goes to. I don't want to say too much to ruin it for some people, because this is definitely a show I think a lot of people could get into and watch very easily. So rather than spoil it, I'll just leave it to you to watch it. But the I have no complaints about where it went and how it ended. They definitely left it open, and I could definitely see some more episodes coming out. But very enjoyable ending, I would say.
I would think, given Hestia's popularity on the internet, that we're definitely going to see a second season of that. Would be my guess. Like she's just too everywhere at the moment, which I've got no complaints about, mind you. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that one was pretty cool, actually. At first, I thought, well, I don't know, we'll see. But it built up really well. I thought, every episode seemed to be a little more exciting than the last one. And like the characters developed right along, and Hestia as Belle's mother. I mean, the goddesses, they're the gods, and the adventurers kind of have a parent-child relationship, right? Is that sort of my understanding of how they explain it at the very beginning? Does that sound right to everybody, or am I on crack?
That's what they call it. Like, the god or the goddess is the head of the family. So.
Okay. I find Hestia's relationship with Belle really interesting, because it seems like, and especially, it seems like she gets in the way. An overprotective mother would get in the way, and really gets in the way at times. Mm-hmm. Versus if she just let him do his thing, he'd probably be all right. So I don't know. I've found that aspect of it kind of interesting. So I don't know. I think it's. I'm curious to see where it goes. I pray that one does not end at just this, and comes back fairly quickly.
Yeah. As far as, like you said, character development, I actually was kind of a little disappointed with the last character, or the blacksmith he joins.
Yeah. It
kind of felt short. So I kind of hope to see or hear more of what's going on with him and how it's going to continue, especially with how it ended.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if the family is ever going to grow, because looks like people are joining, but they're all from different families.
Right. So, does the dungeon go up, or does the dungeon go down?
That's something that confused me part the way through.
I was like, it's this really tall tower, right? Obviously,
right?
Just like in SAO, they're going up, right?
That's
then,
what I thought.
No, we're falling down holes here. So, okay, it's not just me. That's good to know.
I was kind of like confused by that whole gimmick too at some point because that was my premise was it's a tower and although it's called a dungeon they travel upwards but it was revealed kind of later that that's not how it worked.
Maybe that was a design flaw that the animators didn't notice. Crap, they're going down holes, the tower goes up. We gotta fix this somehow.
Well, they kind of wanted something in the center of the city, right? You can't see a hole in the middle of the city. So just build a tower. Totally logic.
I'm wondering if the gods live up there. You know, they've got little apartments or whatever. Or it's a shopping mall.
It could be the shopping mall.
Well, I mean, and I say that honestly because when there was an episode where he goes in and he's buying new armor, right?
Yeah.
And he goes
I guess,
up.
Yeah, that's true.
So I mean, it may literally be a mall. I don't know.
As we could come to find out, there could be another mall like in the down sector where only strong adventurers can get the good stuff. But
yeah, I also found it interesting too. Just I like the fact that we had SAO come out, right, and here are these people trapped in this dungeon world, and then they want to get out, and we kind of waffle back and forth, and then we had Log Horizon come out, where okay, we're not going to go back and forth between the virtual world and the real world, and then this one they're like, well, we're just going to keep the whole game thing again, for this third time, but they all just lived here. They were all just born here. Like I don't know. It seems like there's been a steady progression to get, sort of this massively. I mean, you've got adventurers, and they're different than everybody else, and you've got all your NPCs, and I don't know. It just seemed to kind of fit in sort of this weird trilogy of ideas going on right now in the anime world. I don't know. That was a random thought I had about it. I don't know if it's accurate, but sorry.
Okay. Anyone else have anything to add?
No.
Dark blue band.
So the tower that you're talking about in the center of the town, that's where like all the guild and the Adventurers Guild and other businesses happen to be. So the dungeon actually does go down. That's not the dungeon.
mm-hmm.
I think that's called the. I think that's called the Tower of Babel.
Like I kind of totally forgot for a minute there, since they very rarely go up to other floors. Like, oh yeah, that was the gimmick of that thing. Now it definitely all makes sense. But since they don't go shopping there a whole crap ton and have to go up floors, I kind of forgot about it when they were mentioning traveling down, because then you just imagine this tower that goes up.
So we'll see if there's a second season, because I don't know if there's enough material for a second season right now, because they've covered like 4 or 5 volumes of the light novels, and I think there's only like 7 or 8 volumes out. So it might not be enough. And despite how popular Hestia is, I don't know if the anime itself is doing well. I haven't checked any of the rankings, so.
Hestia is boosting the rankings.
Yes, she's boosting it with that blue string, so.
Actually,
Boosting
I've noticed that we've got no single character with big boobs fighting in this group. Hestia is the only one with big boobs.
Okay, we call them Mopai here. Get it right.
Mopai. Fancy.
No, I was actually surprised when she didn't have that blue ribbon on when I was watching the show. It's like, how can you take that away from her? That's her calling card.
That is all she has.
Alright, so anyone else have anything to say about this? Honestly,
Pretty mainstream.
yeah, it's mainstream. I mean, This is definitely a show a lot of people are going to be watching, I think, without us even having to tell people. So I don't really want to say too much about it. What's next on the list? I guess Nick picked this one, I bet. I tried watching this, Nick. I heard your recommendation for Houkago, but I fell asleep in episode 1. So
Mike would be very upset with you.
I couldn't continue on. I'm like, I don't know if I was just really tired that day or what was going on, but I just remember I was like, episode 1.
Yeah, it's not an action-heavy series, so it's understandable. But so when I initially explained this one, you know, I did mention that while common folklore, Japanese folklore, Ghost, and maybe possibly even some slightly Americanized ones, were the main cast here, and I was wondering how much further into that would they go. I just wanted to deliver really like a solid cast of the Ghost with this one. It maintained its moe-ness throughout the whole series. So it's definitely a moe show based on the sixth sense of this one girl who, I think, Albert, did you tell me it was a 4 coma, by the way? I think you did. Somebody might have mentioned it. But regardless, so we are introduced to of a cast of Ghost, and almost a new Ghost in every episode will appear approximately, but some of them, the majority of them, do stick around as recurring cast, or will at least make another additional cameo later in some manner if they are not the mainstream cast of Ghost. But there's a lot of oddballs that really just get one show and then they're kind of out the door. But yeah, I really did actually kind of enjoy this show because it really delves into of reaching out to other people. That's pretty much what our main protagonist does with her powers. She continuously helps ghosts, even to the fear of other people who might be adverse to the supernatural events. But you know, in all of her interactions with ghosts, she typically constantly just is bringing closure to people, is bringing closure to scenarios, is making so many, you know, connections with people and ghosts alike, and they do play on that a little bit in the story at the end, especially that kind of is what pushes the plot in the last few episodes. But you know, I was always kind of impressed with how the characters kind of grew with these encounters, and that ended up being a big part of the show. So yeah, if you don't like seeing theoretical interactions with the afterlife and bringing closure to events, then this show's probably not for you. But the moe-ness was there, especially seen in the ending, in my opinion, when they have like a deformed chibi character, because the whole ending art's in like this chibi art, and like you have this one tsundere-esque character who's just like making this like pouting face, and I've never seen like moe pouting face chibi characters, but it worked. So
how did it end up towards the end? You know, was there definite progression in the story, or is it mainly sticking to kind of a slice of life type? Because I only watched the first 2, and I got it.
It's kind of a hard call to make, and you know, if I get really spoiler heavy here, what essentially happens is the spirit of her mother is like continually not possessing her, but I think it's within her presence, and it's apparently what's empowering her sixth sense. You know, she has the ability to see ghosts, and her own mother has been passed away for a while. How can she not interact with her? in the plot, it's revealed that her mother resides within her, if you will, and they've represented it in the form of like a plant life within her. There is a flowering plant within her that her mother keeps alive and well, and a bunch of the ghosts she helped out actually didn't know that at first. That's how you found about. They said there's this mysterious presence within her. We shall find it. And they go in and they're like, oh hey, you're her mother. She really wants to see you. Go see her. And the mother reveals that she cannot leave because she is keeping the plant alive somehow by her presence. The ghosts offer to try to keep the plant powered by their own power. I don't exactly know, that plot wasn't well explained. So the mother does branch out and visit with her daughter per one episode, but it put too much of a strain on that represented plant, and it ended up kind of wilting anyway. And when it wilted, her powers disappeared momentarily, which really kind of broke her as a character. You know, that's when she was at her mopiest. That's when she didn't interact with a lot of people. You know, what made her motivated in her everyday life was now taken away from her, and she couldn't interact with all of her cast of ghosts that she kind of liked. And you know, one of the characters try to heal her, if you will, when they pull her out of her regressed shell, the powers kind of return, and she's able to interact with everyone again. So, and that's kind of how the story ends. So, you know, was there actual progression? Hard to say. I think she returned to who she always was, with an even better sense of what she would be. You know, that she doesn't necessarily need her powers, but she definitely adores them while they're around.
Okay.
I'll put my headphones back in now that you're done with your spoilers. You got 2 episodes left.
I got you. Yeah, good call there.
Yeah, I find the show very pleasant. Like, it's just enjoyable. I don't know. Does the cat show up again towards the end?
Oh yes, he's around too.
He disappeared there for like 3 or 4 episodes.
That cat.
So anything else about the show? Does anyone want to say anything else? Yes, no, okay. I like the main character, her design. I thought she was really lovely. That's why I tried to give the show a shot, but like I said, I fell asleep. So I may try one more time, but I don't think it will work out.
I think the one thing I have enjoyed about it is, now that I think of something to say, is I enjoy how, like, the main character, she doesn't, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but she doesn't develop too much, but all the people around her do, which I think is kind of an interesting way to do character development. You know, so.
Yeah. Like I said, in the last few episodes, she'll develop somewhat, if you will, you know, in lieu of the spoilers that I will not re-mention or anything, but but it's mostly she realizes how things would be if a certain thing was true, is what I should say, but then it goes all back to normal anyway. So, but yeah, absolutely. Like I said, just the connections she forms with people, and that's really brought out in the last few episodes, and that's.
All right.
I think this is some form of a healing show, because I'd always feel better watching it a little bit.
All right, that was the con. Let's go ahead and move on to our next title on the list, which looks like, what is it? High School DxD Born.
Excellent.
Do you have anybody under 18 talking?
There's going to be no screenshots, but there will be
No?
some discussion about what's going to happen.
Can I ask a quick question? Real quick. I started to watch it on Funimation, on their website. There was so much censoring going on that I just stopped after like the first 5 minutes of the first episode. is there some other place to watch it?
Yes, absolutely.
DVD. I have the first season.
Well, not of this one that hasn't released yet, but DxD was always kind of weird in that it would have two different airing blocks over in Japan. One was censored, and one appeared on the late night anime sector. What was that? What's that one channel that I'm always mentioning? Just not.
Something X.
I can't. Yeah, something X, right? But on that block, it was uncensored. So if you watched the fan subs specifically that didn't come from horrible subs, and I can only talk about fan subs here. I'm sorry, I have no other experience in the field. But if you stayed away from anything horrible subs, it would pretty much be uncensored. But everything that aired over here, as for a full translation, had the censors in place.
Okay.
As far as I know, but I haven't looked at all what, like, if there was a U.S. streaming source that had no censors.
So typically, if you did want to watch uncensored, you would also have to wait a week, I think.
Yeah, like, it was a little bit behind too, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you're willing to wait, you got what you wanted.
What you wanted.
Well, there were so many bloody little censor things on the screen.
It's not necessarily what I want, but just the presence of censors is so infuriating. I'll wait just to have them gone, not because it's what I want, but because, you know.
Once again, this is the
because
third,
it's not a nuisance.
This is the third season.
Yes.
High school DxD. So, from what I've heard, and this is from our local hentai master, Michael. He says that they actually skipped a whole chapter, or a whole book, actually, in the light novels. I guess there's this whole competition that they skipped, and he was like, "This is an outrage."
Yes.
Blah, blah, blah. So, Michael, I haven't read the book, so it turned out okay for me. I hope to... I've actually read the first book. I'm getting on the second one soon, but for the light novels. But this show was actually pretty good. I liked it still. I would have to say, though, I quit watching once a certain thing happened with the president. I was like, no.
You do that so much. Something will happen, and you will like you did.
So I rage quit. I was like, you can't do this to me. I don't want this. But I haven't watched any more after that.
I mean, I'm a pretty strong, like, pervert, so I'd probably be able to watch all of it.
Well, it wasn't that it was perverted. It's just that, like, I don't want to spoil it, but they did something that I don't agree. Nick, you probably know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I could only make the slightly spoiler statement of, well, if you gave up at that point, you'll never get to see the president in drag.
Yeah, I can pretty much guess what's going to happen, but I mean, I don't know how to explain it. Once I saw the ending of that episode, I was like...
No, you don't get what I mean, but it's okay. Just watch it when you can, and you'll understand. It's a funny comment, not a serious comment.
God.
It's a funny comment. You just don't know what I mean yet until you watch it.
But I did like the whole
image. So thanks.
Mental image. I can't heal that. I'm sorry.
But I did like the whole arc with the dragon and when they're training. You meet him getting closer, of course, to Neko and the vice president. I can't remember her name, the Neko girl.
Hirone, wasn't it? Or was that the sister?
No, she was, I think, Shiro, because the other one was Kudo, right? Black?
Yeah.
So, the little stories and him getting close to them was kind of fun, but like I said, I don't know if I'll ever finish this now. I'll just read the books. Hopefully better, but,
well, at least you'll be continuing in some venture, you know.
But I was actually very disappointed with the ending, because like especially for season 1 and season 2, they had like this little theme where the girls would be dancing and doing something, and they didn't do that in this season's ending credits.
Hmm. Yeah, no, the first season was dancing. The second season was like not dancing.
Well, they were dancing at the
But-
beginning too.
They were animated at least. Can't really remember. Like this ending sequence wasn't that memorable to me. Like I can't even recall what was happening in it because it didn't strike me at all. But it definitely lost the appeal of the typical DxD ending. Like,
But once again, for High School DxD, if you like boobs, watch it.
Yep.
Of course, as JJ mentioned, you probably want to wait for the Blu-rays if you don't want to watch a lot of censorship, because those censors are pretty bad because they show a lot.
yeah, DxD is a really showy series, and if you cannot stand like abstract, I don't even know what to call them, but the censors that they use bother the heck out of me.
Oh, they're awful. They're like these little red flying.
Well, it's like the
Why?
show's title. Like they took an element of the title and they just kind of stuck it over whatever, and it follows the on-screen animation. But
I wish shows would be more, how would you say, artistic about how they do the censorship. Like that Samurai Brides with the ink blotches. I thought that was so unique in how they did the censorship.
I've got no complaints with like Antagonist. You know, that doesn't bother me, right? You know, the little mist in the bathing scene, but
no, the mist. I don't know if I can vouch for it, but the only funny censor that I can think of is from that show very recently, the Mao one, where like you had like the chibi characters who were like slightly animated and they kept like moving on screen, but it was better than this. Like at least you have the characters doing stuff and their characters, and it's just not this stale floating DxD bat looking thing.
But one thing I would have to say is that if you're gonna, I really have to watch that second season again too, because I feel like I missed something when I was starting with this, especially with the introduction of, what did they call it? The Norse mythology was introduced into this. So you had a lot of new things going in, especially new powers and new and just a lot of names being thrown around, Odin, Loki, and stuff like that. So I was like, wait. When did we meet? What's going on? So I feel like I missed something, but I would have to go back and watch.
You won't find anything about that in the second season. That was definitely introduced only in this series. So,
but it felt like it was just all of a sudden there, like we should have already known. So I don't know.
Could be what Mike was getting with like the books were really trunicated here.
So I'll have to talk to Mike and see if he can shed more light on that. But that's the only thing. That's the only problem I had with this one was I just couldn't understand how those guys got in here. So anything else to add on High School DxD?
I think at least it's a progression for the series. One thing that I lamented when the first season ended was they didn't cover certain like abilities of characters, if you will. Like because I don't know if it was from reading ahead of time, but I've learned the existence of some terminologies, like just browsing through a wiki or something. Is like, how did they not cover any of that in like at least the first season? Then the second season came out and they covered one of them. It's like, okay, good. I'm not as unhappy with the series anymore. And now that the third season has come out, they've expanded on yet another mechanic that I really wanted to see done. So, one thing that I have been happy with DxD is at least they're getting the key elements of progression in that they need to. It's like I think they are making the fans happy by getting to certain points quicker, but then you have people like Mike who are not happy with how much they choose to leave out. So, but like in every season, there has been something to make its appearance that I've just wanted to see as a non-light novel reader. So
So real quick, JJ, question for you.
Mhm.
So because of the censorship, did you drop it, or do you still plan on watching this? Hopefully.
Yeah, as soon as I can find it uncensored, I'll watch it.
And have you been watching the previous ones, or?
Yeah, I don't remember where I watched them, but yeah. So I was really excited to see this third season come out. Ready to go, and yeah, and then the censorship just killed it for me. And again, from a distraction point of view, like I forget, there was something, not last season, maybe 2 seasons ago. I forget what it was, but Testament, the Sister New Devil, or
Yeah,
whatever.
That's the Mao one I referenced.
Ah, okay. That one was okay. Like, the censorship didn't horribly bother me in that, but D by D's. I mean, that first 5 minutes, there's like 15 of those little censor things floating on the screen, and you can't see anything. Like, it's just like, and I know how much is going on in those shows. You're just not going to be able to watch anything at all.
I like those little quotes you added there.
Gotta have air quotes.
So, Zach, have you been watching the third season, or do you only watch the previous ones?
Well, I haven't gotten around to watching the third season yet. I'm still working on the first.
But you're enjoying the show?
Yes, very much uncensored.
So hopefully we haven't spoiled too much for you, but...
No, because I'm working on a fanfic with someone else on fanfiction.net, so I'm getting spoiled anyways.
I see. And for both of you, JJ and Zach, have you guys read any of the light novels?
I have not.
No, I'm generally not
I
a
have fanfics
reader.
for that.
I'm pretty much 100% anime. So.
All right. Or I've recently been getting into a lot more reading. That's actually one reason why I haven't been catching up on a lot of the animes this season. I've been reading too many books. I actually have a new manga recommendation for you guys afterwards, but let's go ahead and move down our list. We're going to be skipping Kekkai Sensen since the new episode's going to be coming out later on. And next up, after that, which I don't know why someone put this on the list. But
I don't either.
who did this? Let me see here.
It's probably mine. Because if it's something that I did, it's because I at least want to elaborate. Yeah, it's because I want to elaborate about it.
I haven't seen the last couple of episodes, so be gentle.
No,
I
I will. I will.
I forced myself to watch up to episode 6, and I thought it would get better.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah. This is like one of those things where it's more of a precautionary tale of. So, I'm guessing you're talking about. Let me introduce the title: Gunslinger Stratos. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I thought you were gonna let me pull up a title, but then again, you might not have it since I did kind of come last minute. But anyway,
what's up there?
So Gunslinger Stratos was it has Gunslinger in its title. It's got to be good, right? A lot of the animes that have that term tend to be very action oriented, and while this one is, it originally started, the whole Gunslinger Stratos thing was I think a game published by, I think Nitro Plus did some story for it, and Square Enix helped. It was a third-person shooter thing, and it was based off a concept by Gen Urobuchi. So while he didn't have a direct hand in it, it's someone else taking a hand at a concept he made, and it didn't really work well. I'm trying to abandon a lot of the spoiler-esque terms that I was intending to use, because I guess some people are going to finish it up later. So, maybe just audio mute now, and then when I do a hand gesture, come back on in. Will that work for people here? So I can.
I don't
Okay.
think care about this show.
Okay, yes. So basically what we had happen was a show premising on elements of time travel. The characters would time travel to the past and fight copies of themselves from alternate universes. Why? Because they were told that the fate of both of their worlds were in danger, and that doing this would save at least one of them. The protagonist, or the antagonist, being kind of the timekeeper there, or not antagonist at that point, but so, you know, characters eventually start questioning what else is going on, why are our worlds in danger, and you basically come to find out that in the future, aside from time travel, they've invented this super nanomachine technology that resembled dust like sand, because that was like the nanomachines. And it basically was ensuring its own existence, is the whole point of this story. The timekeeper was forcing the combatants to fight each other and use yielded energy cubes to evolve their own technology to bring about its existence sooner. It was a futuristic dystopian being that was meddling in the past to make itself ensuredly exist. And that was pretty much the whole point of Gunslinger Stratos. And when characters realize it, when a character realizes it, you know, oh no, how shall we stop such a dystopic-like event from coming about when, you know, the other universe that we are forced to work with only wants to fight us because reasons. So it wasn't a really well executed story, but I kind of stuck with it to the end. I actually, like, a lot of the varying character design too was kind of getting at me. You have characters who use these flamboyant guns and that like have little functional point to be behind their flamboyancy. Then you have other characters who utilize like mecha units, and you know, in the future I would almost estimate that one of the two fields would be the main form of combat. Either you have cool guns or you have cool robots, but will we really see as much of a mix-up of two? Like each character that represented their own niche field, that evolved tech in that field, just kind of fractured the anime even more for me. So
for some reason, one of those guns kept on making me think of Super Soaker.
yeah. Okay, so I think hand gesture now. We're good. We're done with all the spoilers to bring people back in. All right, cool. So yeah, I covered most of what I wanted to, and I'm going to bring us back in for just a more normal discussion at this point. So
the only thing I have to say about the show, since I did at least watch half of it, is that I thought the premise would be interesting, especially with them having to fight themselves and the weapons that they had, but just I don't know, just something about it just threw me off and made me go crazy. And the only way I think I could ever continue watching this is if I was to watch Magical Warfare and then come back to this, and this would be, you know, magic. It would be so great, because honestly, I have to say this is almost like the Magical Warfare of this year. And JJ, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch that show.
Yeah. Right after Boku no Pico or whatever.
No,
Boku no Pico is better than that.
Yeah. It's just so terrible. I mean, oh my god.
It is an awful show. I have my own internal rating system. Most of the anime I watch, I tend to watch while I'm on a treadmill. And so I'm running along. And your mental space is very important while you're running. So some shows will, like, I'm thoroughly engrossed in the show and I don't notice I'm running. That's a good show. Some shows are so good that I don't want to run at all, right? So I'm going to sit down and I'm actually going to watch the show, right? I'm not going to ruin it by being distracted by on a treadmill. Gunslinger Stratos is one that I have. It's the hardest 20 minutes of my run because I keep looking at my clock the whole time going, God, is it over yet? You know, can I? It's just awful.
Like I said, if you watched Magical Warfare, you would have a new appreciation for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if the story worked better as a game since I've never played it, but yeah, the animation just did not impress me. And I had a friend who was going to watch it just because, again, the title is so enticing. It seems like it would be a really interesting series. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there for everyone who might have that sentiment about this series because of its name. It's not such.
Yeah, some of the cool guns did look cool, and that's also what pulled me into it when I saw the art. But fail.
It's a trap.
So is that it? And anyone got anything else? So real quick then, since this is basically the end of the summer spring discussion.
Part 1.
Part 1, yes, we will have part 2 next week. We'll be decided on the time since I do have to work. I'll get with you guys later on. So be expecting at a different time next week if you guys are watching this. Some titles we will be discussing if you want to join us will be Hibike Emporium, Kekkai Sensen, what they call Snafu Zoku. I hate that title. Tindonia, Owari Seraph, Show by Rock, which actually was surprising for me. Or hopefully Oremonogatari, Yamada to 7 Nin Majo, and Denpa Kyoshi. Just some titles to be excited about. So, also, hopefully, Owen Evans, I almost forgot his last name. Owen Evans will be giving us some new cover art. Our little girls here are going to be going away. And then we'll have a new image for our next video, and we will be getting a really nice summer picture. So be expecting that. He has created a Patreon page if you want to help. If you like his art, you can look at that up. I'll put a link up here in the credits, and you can try to win some of your own art from him. He's a really good artist.
The link's posted, the right link now.
All right.
Got it.
I'll be posting some more links on the YouTube thing, and of course, we'll hopefully get some timestamps. One thing, though, we have a little bonus thing. Triply here. Hello.
Hello.
We had a little game. Can you spot the Nutella? So don't say anything right now, but just later on, if you want to comment, to see if you guys can find those. You guys have anything else to say for the final word of the titles we just talked about?
Yeah,
Well,
none of these shows are any good. You should just go watch Euphonium. That's what I have to say.
Sidonia, nice.
So Euphonium.
Euphonium.
Oh,
Euphonium.
Eric Sidonia.
Season.
Euphonium. So definitely watch that and then join us for the discussion. Because I bet Sean wants to be dropping all them spoilers. He does want you guys complaining. So, go ahead, and I will hopefully finish that show too. I haven't finished it. Thank you guys, and we'll stop there.